Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with Kat about Raid Shadow Legends! Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing our Raid Shadow Legends Basics series. Today we are talking about the dungeons, which are hugely important. If you saw my last video about artifacts and accessories, you know that dungeons are probably the best way to get artifacts and accessories besides campaigns, but I still think dungeons are a little bit better. So, before we get into that, a lot of the champions that I'm going to talk about today that will help you through these dungeons are available through the link in my description or the QR code. So if you have not already, right now is the most important time to start Raid Shadow Legends. One, because we have amazing stuff coming up. So I'm going to explain to you how you can get 3 free legendaries and 3 free epics. So you're going to start by clicking the link in the description and downloading Polarium. You're going to start your account immediately with Corrado Foxhunter. Then you will get Tagor, the epic support, once you hit level 10. Then you're going to get Mausoleum Mage, who is hugely important in today's video, once you hit level 20. And Lady Annabelle, who is also a big helper today in the video, at level 30. Then you want to go right into promo codes, and you want to do this in the first 24 hours. So basically, once you get in and you've got Corrado Foxhunter, then you want to go in and use the promo code Monkey King and get yourself Sun Wukong. So Sun Wukong is somebody that I recommend for pretty much every dungeon in general. I'm not going to list him for every single dungeon today, but just know that he is good for every dungeon and a lot of other game modes. But his promo code is only available until the end of June. So we only have a short time left. About a week left for him. So that's kind of crazy. So you've got your 3 epic supports plus Corrado Foxhunter and Sun Wukong. And then once you've created your account, starting on July 3rd, you're going to be getting a free login legendary champion, Lemonisi Goldwing, and she's going to be helpful in a lot of places. Plus, you get her for free just by logging in. Plus, a bunch of good equipment that you're going to use to upgrade her, and all of this is happening very soon, so you want to use that link in the description as soon as you possibly can. So today we're talking about the dungeons, which you're going to find in the battle section, just where my head disappeared. And we're going to go in here to the dragon. So this, like I said, this is the places where we get artifacts. So I'm going to kind of go in order of priority based on the kinds of artifacts that you're getting from each one. I'll kind of give a quick overview of each dungeon and then give an example of early game champions, namely some of the ones that you get from my link in QR code and how they are helpful for each champion. But I'll talk about other, like what you're looking for in each champion too. So with Dragon, we're going to start in a fairly high stage only because my champions are pretty stacked and they're going to mow through any lower stages. But for this, the principles are going to be pretty much the same, so don't worry about that. So I already talked about him. He's still probably one of my favorite champions. Sun Wukong is going to be huge here because what you're looking for with Dragon is area of attack and high damage. You want champions who are going to move fast and hit hard. So high speed champions. So you're going to start with Sun Wukong, and one of our starter champions, my favorite starter champion, Kale, is going to be a huge helper here. Both of them are going to do a high amount of damage, but other champions that you want, anyone who's going to boost everybody else's speed and do a lot of damage in an area of attack, or AoE. And so that means you're going to see Sun Wukong works this way, where he attacks everybody at the same time. So does Alice. So they're going to mow through 2 waves before they get to the dragon himself. And especially as you get higher and higher in levels, it's going to go slower, but you're also going to be getting better gear as you get higher and higher in levels. In pretty much any game mode, we'll talk about a couple dungeons where it doesn't work quite as well, but most game modes, you're going to want any champion that can do decreased turn meter, like you just saw my Thor doing, because you don't want the enemy to even bother taking a turn. And that's going to be especially helpful when we get to the dragon, and I will explain why. All right, so now we get up to the dragon, and the dragon, as you can see, has a crazy high health bar. Of course he does. He's a dragon. So what makes Dragon weird is he is going to have a move called Inhale, which you see him doing right now. So you'll notice that his health bar just got a big purple stack to it. So what you want to do, and the reason you want high damage, is because you want to diminish that purple stack before he takes his next turn. Because otherwise, that attack that you just saw is going to be way harsher and way more damaging. So This is why you want to have as high damage as possible. Anything that will reduce turn meter, prevent the dragon from taking his turn, so that way you can get all of the damage you need to get in and reduce that purple down to back to all of the red. So this is going to work its way through. Okay. So once we get through, and one of the main reasons you want to be farming dragon is because this is where you get speed gear, which is one of the most important gear pieces in the game. All right, next we're going to talk about spider. So spider, I think is high up on my ranking of importance because you get accessories. So there's two reasons you want a lot of accessories. One, because you need them. And especially as you rank up and ascend your champions, you want to give them that little boost of stats. But I also like to farm the accessories because you earn a lot of silver for them. So if they're accessories that you don't really care about, you know, low star, don't have any good percentage of stats, then you can sell them. And this is a good place to farm silver. So for spider, spider does not have any waves ahead of time. So what gets funky here is the spider is going to be generating a bunch of tiny spiderlings, and doesn't sound too bad, but it gets funky because the spider will eat the spiderlings and refresh its health. And that's a big problem because you want to kill the damn thing. You don't want it rebuilding health. Your best friends here, again, we're going to come back to turn meter and speed reduction. Those are going to be hugely helpful. And anyone with the area of attack. So it's a little similar to dragon, but in this case, you really, really want to focus in on that turn meter, area of attack. And in this case, Mausoleum Mage is going to be hugely helpful. Along with, again, you guessed it, Sun Wukong. And that's because Sun Wukong will steal buffs and block buffs from Spider and his Spiderlings. And Mausoleum Mage, it has a lot of turn meter increase for your team and decrease for the other team. So that's what makes him so helpful here and why he's an important champion to have. I also am going to include anyone who can drop the other team's turn meter and do a big area of attack as possible. So this is the team I'm going to be taking in here. So I've got my Sun Wukong and Mausoleum Mage. I'm also bringing in Deacon Armstrong. He's going to mess around with that turn meter. And I'm also going to bring in Rio Bone Spear, who is a healer and cleanser. Now, you're going to want cleanser because the spider and the spiderlings also put out a ton of poison. And that's not fun, and that'll do a lot of damage really quick. So you want somebody who is going to get rid of all those poisons. So you'll watch and see how this kind of gets out of control. So the spider starts their turn with 6. And then for each of our turns, they're going to add 2 more. So see, start a turn, there's 2 more. I do really love my Thor for this. And you notice he also did a decreased speed on everybody too. So that's what makes him super important. Now the object of this is to get rid of the spider. So in one sense, you don't want to focus too much on the little spiderlings. You do want to focus on the main spider, but when the spider is getting closer to taking its turn, the more you can get rid of these spiderlings, the better, because you don't want them to be food for the big spider. Now you might be like, oh no, I lost my Sun Wukong and my Mausoleum Mage. Mausoleum Mage I don't have as upgraded as I do as my other champions, but my Sun Wukong will revive himself. So he revives himself once you have him ascended to 3 stars, so that's 3 pink. And then he will just revive himself, and you don't even need to worry about it. So he's just going to keep taking all of that damage and poison, and Rio might be able to cleanse him. So see, there you saw. Spider wiped out all of those spiderlings and fully regenerated health. That's a big problem. So this is why you want to have big area of attack kind of champions. So our spider's going to consume all the little spiderlings at the start of each turn. So that's another reason you want that turn meter reduced. And you want to clean up the field as much as possible because you'll watch soon. We had all that consumed them all and bumped up its health a little bit. But that's okay. So this can end up taking a long time, especially with a certain team composition like this. This is not the team I usually use. I don't use Sun Wukong with this anymore, but he is a really good champion to start with. But that'll happen as you progress through the game. You'll start gaining better champions and more champions, and some champions will be slightly better geared towards certain dungeons and game modes, and you'll just replace certain champions as you go on. You'll find somebody that does the same thing better than another champion does. So ideally, as you move along, you're not going to need to use the same 5 champions every single time. All right, next on this list, we are going to talk about Fire Knight. Now, Fire Knight, the last 2 dungeons that we've been talking about have been a little bit more on the straightforward side. Dragon Lair, Dragon tends to be super straightforward. Spider's Den has a little more nuance to it. Fire Knight has a lot of nuance to it. So what makes Fire Knight funky is, you know, he's similar to the other champion. He's similar to the other dungeon bosses, but this guy, you'll have the 2 waves ahead of time. And once you get to Fire Knight, he starts his turn by putting up this giant shield, and the shield has a countdown of how many hits you have to give it before that shield will go down. Now, shields are not usually a big problem in the game, but for Fire Knight, it blocks like 90% of the damage that you can do to him. You have to get through the shield if you want to do any kind of damage. So, what you're going to want to have here is, again, turn meter and speed reduction, so you can prevent him from taking a turn, because anytime this guy takes a turn, he will refresh his whole shield, and the whole countdown will start over again. Gets really annoying and complicated. So who you're going to want to have are champions that can do turn meter or speed reduction or a boost for your own team, but you mainly want champions that have a multi-hit attack. So again, Mausoleum Mage is going to be your best buddy here with the turn meter and speed shifting. But Corrado Fox Hunter is also going to be hugely helpful here, because Corrado has an A1 that attacks one enemy 3 times. So that's a 1, 2, 3 hit. Now that'll bring down the count really quickly, and that's super helpful. So I'm going to play with my typical team here so you can see how it goes. Now Fire Knight is Fire Knight's a pain, but the rewards that you get from Fire Knight are absolutely worth it. So as long as the waves are nothing to worry about. Like, you can mow through them pretty quickly, especially if you have a champion like Alice. But you'll see that with this group of champions that I have, I kind of get the Fire Knight into a loop where he just cannot take a turn. So you see Deacon Armstrong has that boost of turn meter. A couple other champions have turn meter reduction, and then my girl Ruella here on the side is going to help bring down that countdown. So we see up here in the corner, this is the countdown we're working with. So 5 more hits and he will take that shield away. Now Ruella has a 3 hit as her A1, which is why we have her. Take it away, and now we can do some real damage. Now he's probably going to put it right back up. Yep. He does a decreased speed, and we have to start all over again. So that can be really annoying. But if you have enough champions with those big multi-hits and champions that will have turn meter reduction like that, you're going to give a boost turn meter. And Ruella here also has a turn meter reduction, and so does my Geomancer. So now we have him in a complete loop. So see, it just completely dropped his turn meter. He's not going to go for... We get a whole nother set of turns before he's going to go at all. And I promise you that with Deacon Armstrong there, we're just going to keep getting more and more speed. So everyone's going to keep decreasing his speed. He's not going to be able to go at all, and we just get that chance to keep knocking him down until he's gone. Now, I know I made that look really easy. This is a very finesse team. This is a very specific team that I have designed for this champion. He can be quite a booger. So just be careful when you get to Fire Knight. But now you do still want to farm in Fire Knight, because you're going to get sets like Savage and Regeneration and Curing, and a lot of these sets are very helpful, especially as you get later in game. There's one specific champion that I have in my roster, Godseeker, who pretty much only wants to have regeneration, because her whole deal is that she needs to be alive and going, because she's just going to keep reviving everybody else. Now, nobody is expecting you guys to be here at stage 15. Just progress through as much as you can and improve your champions. Keep looking out for champions that fit the criteria that I've explained, and you'll get there, and you'll start making steady progress. All right, lastly, the dungeon we're going to talk about is Ice Golem. Ice Golem is the bane of my existence. It's not because Ice Golem is particularly hard. It just drives me nuts, and I don't want to do it. There's not a bunch of reasons. I don't use a lot of the artifact sets that you get from Ice Golem, so pretty much I avoid Ice Golem at all costs. I pretty much only will fight Ice Golem when it's a progress mission. But the way you're going to work, again, we have 2 waves. And your best friends here are going to be champions who will kill his 2 minions. His two minions on the side of him being alive makes it more likely, gives him more strength with his passive, which will freeze your whole team, and then they just can't do anything for a round. Think Pokemon, when your Pokemon got frozen and it was just in a block of ice for a minute for a whole turn. Same kind of idea. So what you want to have here are champions who will kill his 2 minions, and then the strategy is to do as much damage as possible in one shot, because whenever his HP drops below these certain thresholds, he will revive all of his dead allies at 100%, which is super annoying. So it can take a long, long time. So you want to have a couple high damage champions, but the rest of your team, you really want to have healer and reviver champions. So what I recommend from my roster has been Sun Wukong, again, high damage. Plus, he revives himself, so that's something not to worry about. And then I would recommend Lady Annabelle because of her healing ability in her A1. Plus, she has a leech and a decreased speed. Now, leech will heal your team as you go. And she also has a revive on death plus an increased speed for your team. It's always going to come back to turn meter boost and reduction. That's always a key piece to the game. And all of the champions that you get with my link in description provide that. And then there's Tagore would also be super helpful here because he has a full team revive. So it's support, support, support. So these two are healer and revivers. Alice here is going to be high damage, and Geomancer also does a lot of damage through HP burn, which means he will do a ton of damage as the Ice Golem takes his turn. So as that Ice Golem is taking his turn and, move past that threshold, you do more damage, and it doesn't count towards that moving threshold. And again, like all the other dungeons, none of the waves of minions ahead of time really cause that many issues. They're just kind of there to, give your team a run for money before they go. So you'll notice that my team is going straight for those buddies, the little minions on the side, because you want to avoid getting frozen. And that's going to reduce his passive. All right, so now we want to be doing as much damage as possible, and that's why Lilith is helpful. She gives an increase in attack. We have some HP burn, and the guys are revived, but that's okay. Alice is also a good high damage kind of champion. So you're going to see that they just kind of keep reviving. But the more percentage of damage you can do at one time, the better, because you miss all of those there's like little invisible markers of where he will do more damage. See? You can do it all in one shot. You're good. So that's everything I have. So that's my kind of 101 on just the basic dungeons. There's other dungeons such as the Minotaur's Labyrinth, Sand Devil, and Phantom Shogun's Grove, but those are a little bit more late game. These 4 dungeons are going to be your core help early in game. So next couple videos I want to do one on clan bosses, because clan bosses are how you get a good majority of all your resources. And then I'm going to do a separate video on the potion keeps and what you need to know about that. So that's everything I have. Comment down below if you have any other questions. Leave your advice for all of those dungeons if you are a later game player, so newer game players can see these as well. Thank you guys again so much for being here. And don't forget, if you haven't already, click the link in the description and get your excellent champions to help with this. Corrado Foxhunter, Tagore with his full team revive, our buddy for Ice Golem. Mausoleum Mage, once you hit level 20, our best buddy for both Spider and Fire Knight. Lady Annabelle at level 30 for our Ice Golem. And don't forget to use the promo code Monkey King before the end of June so you can get Sun Wukong, one of the best champions in the game. And don't forget, Lemonici Goldwing will be our free login champion starting in July, so we have a lot of great stuff coming up, and I hope to see you there. Thank you guys again for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.